What's up, everyone? This is Gail Dudley with your news in motion. How are you today? We have breaking news coming on as we are coming on ourselves this morning. So we want to get right to it. If you're in the room, let me know that you're here. I have a guest who's going to come on. I may even have another guest who may pop in, but we want to get this party started. So much is going on today, and I think that it causes me to change our regularly scheduled broadcast today to really dig deep into something else. Good morning, Awana Turner. Good morning to you, sister. Good morning, Kenya. Good morning, Regina. Good morning. So, y'all, we are going to go a different direction this morning because we think that that is something that we must talk about as a community, so we know how to work with it within our community as a whole. We did get breaking news this morning about 3 a.m. Our time out of Tokyo, so we want to make sure we are bringing it live here. Good morning, Kenny Stanley. Good morning, Marion Jackson. Good morning, Adrian. Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Kim Carter. Good morning to you. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, sorry for that feedback. When you get breaking news and it's going to throw everything out that you're working on, we have been running around this morning trying to get all the pieces together. And we do have a guest that's coming in this morning. We may have two guests. That's what happens. And we of course, we identify those individuals who have who already makes themselves available. Good morning, Kelly Stanley. Good morning to you. Yeah, breaking news. Many of you may have heard already. Good morning to my biological sister, Patricia Laus. Good morning, Mary Jenkins. Many of you may have already heard this morning. We got it in at 3 a.m. our time. Tokyo's time, they're already into Wednesday. Good morning, Nicole Burton, that Simone Biles have pulled out of the individual as well. So everyone is talking about it. And I said, hey, News in Motion can talk about it also. So we got busy. We started shooting out the text messages, the emails, the press releases to see. We have one of our own that's coming on this morning to join us as well. Good morning to my biological brother, Louis Pryor III. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Julie, Bryce. Y'all, good morning. Good morning, Shardinia. Good morning, Diane Ladybug. Good morning to all of you. So we have a whole lot to talk about. This person is one of our own. She actually lives in Powell, Ohio, Dublin, Ohio, but she's actually in Washington, D.C. right now. Good morning, Pastor Alex. Good morning, Regina. Good morning to everyone. Yeah, there's a lot that's going on. So again, we may see, we may have another person coming in, and I said, y'all, this is media. And my very own said, it's time for you to hire some staff, Mom, because you got us up here at like 3:30 in the morning trying to find people. And I just laughed. But I'm so glad we have a support list that we can pull from to see if anybody's available. There's a lot of people already on different circuits. And it's interesting. I'm going to share this with you. Take it as you like. I said, my first thought, you know how the enemy will speak to you and say, girl, you can't call up those people. But then at the same time, I heard God say, you know me, you can do all things through Christ that gives you strength. You can put out the same request like everybody else is putting out requests. And so then the other voice in my head was like, oh, you're just a small news thing. But then I had God say, don't despise small beginnings. Hello, somebody. Don't get me even started going there. I ain't even going to go there because God can do all things. And there's no telling who may pop up in the green room, because all of a sudden the millennials were saying, stop just doing the invitation. Go ahead, send them the link. If they can join, they'll click on the link. We'll see them in the green room. We'll shoot the information. In my mind, I'm thinking, but I need their bio. I need this. And they're like, you ain't doing all that. They can introduce themselves. And I said, okay. So we're just going with the flow today. But hey, shout out to everybody who's in here. I don't want to keep talking. I don't want to keep belaboring the point because we have work to do. We have things to talk about. So let's get this party started. Good morning. Hester. It's so good to see you on here as well. Let me get to our quote for this week. Our quote comes from Jesse Owens. We all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. Again, that's Jesse Owens, former American track and field athlete with 4-time gold medalist. We are in the middle of Olympics. And again, today at 3 a.m. our time, I think Tokyo's time, I think they're somewhere way into Wednesday, we received the media alert, although Simone Biles went to go and train on yesterday, ready to do the individual all around, and I'll give you the right word because all these things are coming in. 3 hours ago, well, now it's been 6 hours ago, she withdrew from Thursday all-around competition to focus on her mental well-being. That's the news that we received. Yesterday, there were quotes she posted on her own Instagram and Twitter that says her mental wasn't there. That's why she pulled out when she went to the vault. And if anybody watched that last night, you know, we heard about it earlier before we were able to see it if you're on the Eastern or Central time zone or specific time zone here in the United States. We did not see it till later, although we had heard about it. But if you paid attention to her when she was going to the vault, she wasn't there. She was self-talking to herself. She was blowing out all kinds of air. She was very fidgety. She was so outside of her norm. And so she went, even when she was running, I was like, she's not okay. She's not okay. You can see that she's not okay. And they're saying that, you know, doing those kind of flips can become very, very dangerous in a fall. She could break something. She could hurt something. And then a gymnast said even yesterday evening, I can't think of her name. She's also a gold medalist several years ago, about 10, 15 years ago. She says you can even die from that if you hit the wrong, if you break the wrong bone. So she says mental wasn't there. She said she wanted to work on her mindfulness. And even when they were trying to pigeonhole her to try to get her to say if she was going to compete for Thursday, she would not answer that question. USA Gymnastics said in a statement on Wednesday that the 24-year-old is opting to not compete. The decision comes a day after Simone, excuse me, removed herself from the team final following the rotation. The U.S. gymnastics coach said, we wholeheartedly support Simone's decision and applaud her bravery in prioritizing her well-being. Her courage shows, yet again, why she is a role model for so many. So that was the quote. That was the quote. I see you all coming in here. Good morning to you. So this morning, after we put out everything, you know, sometimes you get so in a hurry to put out everything to everybody else. Excuse me, it's the morning air. Forgive me. It's like, you know, somebody who can do this. So I reached out and got that somebody. She's one of our own. She tunes in regularly, and here she is. She is actually in Washington, D.C. right now. This is Deborah Johnson, AKA DJ, the Sports Mom. She's an accomplished educator, inspirational speaker, author, and storyteller. I'm going to get this together, y'all. Forgive me. Deborah is a parent advocate with a passion for educating parents on her documented process for successfully creating a plan for a child's success. She is the president of Goal Minded LLC, which is an organization that reaches out to parents and students at all levels to help them maximize their talents, help athletes to get recruited for college scholarships and beyond, and educates on cultural competency and diversity. She is the founder and director of the Team Family Institute, which was designed to provide programming for and is a resource to families as they strive to make an authentic connection with one another for the betterment of the entire unit. She is the co-founder of the Jay Richardson Foundation, whose mission is to breathe life into teen family. She is also the founder of the Football Parent Association at Ohio State and Midwest Regional Coordinator for the Professional Football Players Mothers Association. Deborah is the author of Coaching a Dream. Y'all should get that book, A Parent's Guide. She has a BA in French from the Ohio State University and a master's in human service management. She is a wife and a mom of 3 sons. And I'll give you her information later on how you can contact her. But first of all, welcome, Deborah.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome.
How are you?
Welcome. Good. You're a little frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. We can hear you. Thank you so much for changing your schedule. Deborah is actually in DC. She actually is going to be officiating a funeral after she leaves here. So with that, Deborah, I want to jump in and start asking a few questions, if you don't mind, and you can take it away from here. The first question I have for you, first of all, I'm so glad that Simone Biles is saying my mental health is important to me.
Oh, yeah.
So many children today, the pressure is just so much. I was listening to some of the commentators yesterday with some of their negative, the negative words that were coming out of their mouths. Like, you know, she calls herself the GOAT. Well, no, she didn't call herself the GOAT. We called herself the GOAT. And she's still the GOAT in my book because she knows enough about her mental health and her well-being to pull out if she needs to. So, Deborah, can you speak to the pressure you had? You have NFL sons. I want to say Oakland Raiders, I believe, was one of them, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And you've been dealing with this and dealing with parents and dealing with so much. Can you just share with us the pressure that's already on them going into a game or going into an event? And what can we do as society to try to balance some of that out?
The pressure is enormous. I can't even tell you just how enormous the pressure is. We're talking about starting when these children are young. I mean, I've watched Little League games where people talk as if they're in an NFL game. Babies feel like I'm going to let my parent down if I don't get this right. Oh my gosh, if I miss that ball. When Jay was at Ohio State, we had players getting death threats for missing a ball, death threats because they didn't get the hit that they were supposed to get in. It's scary. They feel like the whole world is on their shoulders and everyone is looking at them. Let's be real. Sports is the number one pastime in the world. Number one pastime. People are tuning in. People who don't have any skin in the game believe that they have the right to manage what's happening on the field, on the court, in these arenas. So it's outrageous. It's outrageous. And sometimes it's just too much. It's just too much. It's so near and dear to my heart because our middle child suffered with depression while playing sports. It's scary. It's really scary. And when you got pressure coming from every side, you know, it's not just when you're a collegiate athlete, you're concerned about the same things that other people in college are concerned about. And then on top of that, getting on the field, getting in the court, doing what you have to do, not letting anybody down, giving your one shot. And you've been objectified by your sport. So people only know you as an athlete. I don't care how smart you guys are. I don't care how many times people say they're going to med school. This kid's in engineering. Nobody cares. They just want to make sure that when you show up, you entertain us. You fulfill our dreams out there. And most of the pressure is coming from people who've never played sports in their life. That's the worst of it. That's the worst of it.
Wow. And for those of you tuning in, I can see that she's freezing off and on. So I'll try to repeat some of what she's saying. And hopefully you can still hear her because I can still hear her as well. Good morning, Jeffrey and James. So some of the things that she is saying, and I see Kenya put in here, and I'll pull this up as well. Kenya is saying so true. As a former collegiate student athlete, there is pressure, especially with men's football and basketball. I don't miss that stress, but I'm grateful for the resources. And I'll speak to that as well. I thought about this even last night. Not that my parents were like, you better win. But I would hear when I would race with swimming, I would hear them say, you bringing home a win for me today? And so even though it was not like I'm demanding you to win, I'm still in my head hearing, oh, I got to bring my family home a win today. And that pressure, there is pressure. There's pressure. I didn't get any death threats, but there is pressure behind that. And Pastor Alex is saying you can't hear. Nawana Turner saying, my son played college baseball and the pressure was so great, especially being a minority in the sport. And I think that's a part of it as well. Come on, we have Naomi Osaka. Now she was eliminated after the third round in the Olympics. She was eliminated. But she was struggling, and the media was even saying there's so much pressure that we're putting on these people. So Deborah, you speak to parents everywhere. You're still with the National Football Association, football moms.
Right.
You've been on media broadcasts all over. What's one of the if there was one thing that you hear over and over and over again, what would that be?
Over and over again is people just don't get it about how much pressure it is to perform day after day at that same level. The expectations are so high. And it's like being in a fishbowl. That's what I hear a lot. It's just like being in a fishbowl. You can't get away from it. It's not just on the field, it's everywhere you go. People want a piece of you. People think you owe them something. You know, they'll say things like, I was in a restaurant and this athlete didn't even stop to spend time with my child. My child idolizes this person. But they're just real people like anyone else, you know? And often they're young people. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. Does anybody remember being 18, 19, and 20? Oh my gosh, they're human. Okay.
So what I'm hearing you say is they're coming to you saying, or they're coming to the athlete saying, sign this card, and you're like, well, I'm just out with my family. I mean,
Right, right.
can we not do this? But something you said that is so interesting, and I was looking at some, we were able to see, and I think it's they're out there now with everyone to be able to see, the hate tweets and Instagram comments and towards Simone. It's heart wrenching. I was like, I mean, and you're talking about death threats to football players. And I'm listening to these death threats, and I'm like, what is happening? I mean, they're talking about she cost us the gold last night. Did she? Like, why was all that pressure on her to bring in gold? Why wasn't it a team effort? And guess what? They still got silver, and that's great. But even if they didn't, they made it where thousands of people didn't make it.
Thank
so
you.
What can we do? And even media. I'm really kind of upset with the media, the way they're going after her too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
What can we do as a public when we're talking about a call to action with news and motion? What can we do as the public to encourage and to uplift? Because you know as well as I know, we will listen to the negative and the positive, kind of like, okay, there was one thing that's refreshing, but that negative stays and stays and stays. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. You've got to take a step back. Seriously, take a step back and understand that this is one person. This is, like you say, they're at the top of their game. They've done the very best they know how to do, but they are still human beings. You have to think about, if that were you, how would that impact you at that level? Sometimes people just go at people without any thought for the consequence. But can you live with the consequence of what happens? Kids are taking their lives. Let me just say this again. They take their lives because they feel like the depression rate is so high. It's exponentially high amongst athletes. And FYI, in ages, say, 12 to 17, they're saying now more than 50% of athletes, young athletes, youth athletes, suffer major depressions. All around the sports, all around the expectations that are levied on them. You got to step back and think about the consequences. I saw a young man this close to wanting to take his life, and his coach, this is an NCAA Big Ten coach, looked at him and said, "Look, I don't care about this depression. You fix that on your time. You can deal with that after the season. But right now we're in the game." But we don't ask athletes when they break a leg to keep going. When someone tears their ACL, everyone says, "Oh, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that." When someone says, "My mind isn't right, my mind is broken," people say they need to get their mind in the game. They need to get their act right. They don't treat that. It's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing. When your mind is broken, you can't play. When something is really wrong, you can't play. I don't know if you know about female athletes. Lots of them suffer with bulimia and whatnot. Their negative self-images. People are talking about them. Did you see them? They're talking about their hair. They're talking about their legs are this, their back is this. Look at them. Look at their face. God, seriously? It's really tough being out there as a young person. And then when you hear that, sometimes they just feel hopeless. And they just say, "I'm done. I'm done."
Wow, I was looking. It's interesting you brought that up. And again, thank you so much for jumping on here with me this morning. And I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat, and hopefully, after later on this afternoon, if you get a chance, you can go through these to respond. But something I noticed yesterday, and it's the first time I ever really noticed it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was keyed in on the physique of the women athletes. I mean, I was looking at the swimmers. I was like, none of them have a breast. And they were just completely fat. I'm like, how'd that happen? And then I went back to when I was swimming, and I said, I didn't either then. What is it about the exercises or the things that we do that flattens us out? Like, what is it, or what did we not eat? Because you were talking about how we don't eat. What is it? And even that pressure alone, do I look the part, I believe is also part of the pressure.
That's exactly right.
And then you get into and I know neither one of, so everyone knows neither one of us here are counselors, not unless Deb is, and I just don't know it. And we're speaking from experience. We're speaking from what she's experienced with her sons. I'm speaking from my experience of what I did growing up as an athlete, as a swimmer. But I was watching those things on yesterday. But the other thing I kept noticing was that people were not smiling. They were, I get it. I get having your head in the game and focused on that. But they did not appear to be enjoying themselves at all. And I'm like, is this me just seeing this now, or is it the pressure? Somebody was looking at I think it was Jordan Childs was looking at her phone or whatever when they were getting ready to walk out, and she turned to Simone, and then they hugged each other. I'm like, what was on that phone? What was on there? And do they realize that they're messing up that the people in the public, we're messing up their mental by sending the things that we're sending them?
Yeah.
Can you speak to that? How can we, and let's be real, y'all. We're talking about athletes, but what about the pressure we put on ourselves when it comes to our business, our ministry, our nonprofit, our career, being a mom, being a dad, going to school, not going to school? Just imagine the pressure we're under.
That's right.
And then take that to, you better bring home gold. Well, I never touched a gold medal. They didn't bring it home to me. So, Deb, speak to that, please. And there's a lot of comments coming in here.
Oh, my, seriously. And you've got to have people in your circle. I want to speak first to parents because it's so important. We put undue pressure on our children. Sometimes parents' their dreams are now riding on their child's performance. They want their child to perform so they can feel good at work with their friends. They want a little bit of that spotlight too. I see it all the time. And the child is shrinking. It's like, Lord, can I just get some help here? I remember Jay looking at me one day when I was bringing a fan to him. He said, Ma, I need you to be my gatekeeper, my protector. I need you not to be a fan. I need a mom in this one. And I hear it from Josh. They need you. When you're in that close circle, you need to be their mom, their auntie, their friend. Take some of that pressure off. You need to deflect some of it. They need to hear that positive voice from you at all times. Look, baby, this is a game, but it's just a game. At the end of the day, you've done your best. When you are these elite athletes, you are like in the top 1% in the entire world. You've already won. You have to keep telling your child that. And some people say, yeah, but everybody's trying to get, the reality of it is it comes and it goes so quickly. But the damage it does long term goes for years and years afterwards. You have athletes still beating themselves up 10 years later, that if I had just done this, if I had just gotten that shot, if I had just thrown the ball, if I had just, and people are still looking at them and saying, you cost me. And there's so much betting going on in sports. You cost me, like literally cost me. My money is riding on you. So we got to back off from this. We definitely got to back off, but somebody has to be the positive voice in their ear. Let it out. And you got to hear this. At some point, it's okay to just say, if you're done, you're done. If you're done, you're done. Yeah. I will forever love, and nobody will believe I'm saying this, Charlie Weiss from Notre Dame, who at the time I was thinking, Charlie Weiss, whatever, I'm an Ohio State fan. But when he became my middle child's third coach, And I got a phone call from my child. I couldn't even breathe when he said, I just don't know. When he meant, I just don't know. Like, I don't know if I can do this, not just this, but just anything anymore. He was in the depths of depression. He was a senior at Kansas. And Charlie Weiss got on the phone with me and said, your son has given everything to this team. He's been a scholar athlete. I don't care if he ever plays another down, but what's important is his mental health, that he leaves this university doing well. Wow. And Josh never played another down, was there on senior day with the whole team, left there doing well. He said if he had to do it all over again, he'd go back to Kansas because some coach got it. I had a previous coach tell him he just thought his head wasn't in the game. And my child had lost 40 pounds in a couple of months, stressed out and literally sick. Jeez. Yeah, you got to watch it. It's some crazy stuff out there. It's not just coming from the athletes. It's not just coming from the fans. Sometimes it's literally coming from the coaches. And their pressure, the pressure is so great because their lives are riding on these children, these athletes doing what they're supposed to do. And so they push and push and push. And you've got the public saying, well, that's what they're being paid for. First of all, in college, that's not what they're being paid for. They're getting a scholarship like any other student. But the reality of it is, it's a lot of pressure, and we have got to back up and do something about it. Do you realize that a good group, like 70% of people in youth sports, by the time they are 12, drop out of their sport because they're tired?
Because they're tired.
At 12. Yes. At 12 years old.
Yeah, Jeffrey Allen James said, doesn't the pressure start at the beginning of understanding with parents stressing their child to succeed? I think that has a lot to do with it. Kenya says, when you're an athlete, hormones are shifted, mental cycles are late, and growth differences happen.
It's true.
Diane is saying sports change your physical body as it shifts your hormones.
Right.
I'm missing some people. Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get as many of these as I can. Elisa is talking about the pressure. Regina says mental health is real. So it seems like in this thread, we're getting it.
Yeah.
Lori Wallace is saying this is so true, but sad. Latrice is saying happy anniversary to you, Latrice and Fred. I wonder if everyone gets a trophy. There's that movement to the youth sports. So we've talked about that here on News in Motion before. There's so much in here, so I'm gonna let you get to this later on. I know I told you I was gonna keep you on time to get you where you need to go. So if I can ask you one last question before we go, again, thank you, Deborah, for getting on here with me. And I think this can start a whole new topic and conversation as well. But you hit on something. And I don't think, until lately, and I appreciate Naomi Osaka, and I definitely appreciate Simone Biles. But what they're saying, my mental health is more important than doing this. But you hit on something. The coaches are getting paid, and whatever bonuses may come with that.
That's right.
People are playing what is it called? The pool where they're doing, who's going to win.
Tournaments and whatever. Fantasy leagues.
Fantasy leagues. People are betting. So when you pull out, you just messed up their bottom line. You just messed up their pocket. Because in some cases, it's a fixed fight. They know who's going to win to some degree. Now that she has shifted and pulled out, and the pressure on her was so significant. My final question to you is this. In the reality, in this real world that we're dealing with, that we're in right now, is this the time that policies and rules need to shift? And if so, how do we shift them?
They absolutely need to shift. First of all, I don't know if people understand the term, I'm talking about now NCAA athletes, the term of a student athlete. Do you guys realize the reason why that term came about is to make sure that student athletes, when they were injured, would not be compensated by the universities. So they changed it to student athletes because a player in Denver back in the 1950s got injured on the field and he just wanted unemployment compensation. Now he's out of the game. Could he get paid? And they said, oh no, we can't have this happening. We can't be taking care of people when they're injured. So they changed it to student athlete to make sure that they are just students and they are not working for the team. But in reality, when the concession person gets hurt, they get paid. When the photographer on the field gets hurt, they get paid. The only person that's not getting paid and being taken care of often are the athletes on the field. So legislation needs to change around that. When we ask you, am I for some kind of compensation for these young people? Absolutely. Do you realize how many collegiate athletes are injured for life and nobody pays the freight? I know athletes who have now broken arms, all kinds of stuff, and nobody's paying this freight. Do you realize across the board, universities are still not paying for injuries? When my child got injured, our health insurance paid for it. Not the university is making the billions of dollars, but our health insurance had to pay for it, and they can't play unless they have health insurance. I just want you to understand that. Some states, like California, mandates it now, but we got to have laws in place to protect these athletes. We really do.
That sounds like that's our call to action for sure here at News in Motion.
It's a call to action for sure. I can get behind that.
I love it.
I love it in that game.
I love it. Deborah, again, thank you. For those of you who are tuning in and saying, well, she's freezing, hopefully you were still able to hear her. When you hear the replay, you will be able to hear everything. But as I believe Pastor Alex said, you can still hear her. We want to thank you. She is in Washington, D.C., getting ready to officiate a funeral. But she answered the call to join here this morning. And Deborah, I am always grateful. I'm always grateful for you, for the work that you're doing. Again, I need everyone to go and get her book. It's called Coaching the Dream. Even if you do not have a student athlete, but maybe you have a niece or a nephew or a cousin or a friend or a neighbor, whatever. It's called Coaching the Dream, a Parent's Guide. Coaching the Dream, a Parent's Guide. If somebody can put that in the link, that'd be great. On Facebook, she is Coaching the Dream Book, as well as Deborah Johnson. On Instagram, she is DJ the Football Mom, and on Twitter, she is DJ_Football Mom. Y'all, she travels around speaking to parents and students everywhere. She is still very much a part of the National Football League Association. Parents Association, is that right? Or moms?
Professional Football Players Mothers Association. And I want to tell you, if you're living in Ohio, on the 28th of August at 11:30 at the RPAC at Ohio State, we're doing a free workshop with NFL moms and NFL players, talking to student athletes and their parents about how they can deal with just this topic and other topics. It's called Next Level. And we're talking about what happens when you go to the next level, how we can protect that. Malcolm Jenkins will step in, Jerome Bettis. We've got other athletes coming together to help young people.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I'll be praying for you. I know you're on your way out, but I'll be praying for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, y'all, listen, I'm going to still give y'all the news. If you can hang out with me for 15 minutes, great. If not, just check out the replay. Again, thank you to Deborah Johnson for joining me. I was seeing different text messages coming through saying that this person can get on, but they can't get on till noon because they're on back-to-back interviews. So who knows? We may have other people tomorrow. Maybe I'll jump on here and do a special segment later on this morning. We don't know. But I saw a couple names. I was like, what? They can come on News in Motion. So we're going to try to work that out. And I have someone checking that out now. The Olympics, swimmer Katie Ledecky wins gold in first ever women's 1,500 meter freestyle race. This is the 6th gold of her career. Team USA drops softball gold medal game to Japan by 2-0. And we know, I just shared with you about tennis star Naomi Osaka was eliminated in the 3rd round. Y'all, Britney Spears makes her second attempt to remove her father as her conservator after a new attorney files a motion in Los Angeles court. I don't know if you watched any of the January 6th committee trial yesterday. I was in tears. I was bawling behind that. They just called him a hitman. And y'all know who I'm talking about. House Select Committee probing the January 6th storming of the U.S. Capitol began on yesterday with Capitol and D.C. Metro Police officers testifying. When you hear their stories, it's one thing to see the video, but when you hear their stories, it'll make your heart drop. My heart was pounding so fast. And at one point, I was sitting on the edge of my sofa saying, what is going on? And I'm glad to know all of this information. Officers thought they would not survive the Capitol riot. They just said they didn't think they would. And they said they were sent by the hitman. In the COVID news, the CDC recommends vaccinated people return to wearing masks indoors in areas where COVID-19 is surging. That is out there. And if you ask me, I think it's surging everywhere. And I have not taken my mask off anyway, except when I'm around people that I know are vaccinated or it's a small group. The U.S. cases continue to rise, now averaging 61,300 per day. Just yesterday, y'all, just 24 hours ago, CDC had it marked at 50,002. So from yesterday in 24 hours, it has jumped to 61,300 per day. Deaths are also on the rise. Yesterday, they were at averaging 250. This morning, they're showing 300. U.S. health regulators told Americans to put their masks back on as the Delta variant continues to rage. New guidance from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention advised that fully vaccinated individuals should wear masks indoor settings because this is spreading rapidly. They're also recommending that masks be worn in K through 12 schools, while Biden says he's weighing a vaccine mandate for federal workers. So that could be coming. That's Bloomberg reporting. A new study, get this, y'all, a new study found that antibodies levels were boosted in people who got a shot of the AstraZeneca, which, we didn't hear much about that anymore, vaccine, the first shot. Now, I want y'all to listen to this, and y'all can go in the CDC and see it all for yourselves. The first shot, AstraZeneca, but the second shot, Pfizer. They're saying that the combination of the two shots are working. Who knew? Who knew? But I know scientists are doing the work that they're doing. Kenya, maybe you can speak to this to let us know what this is all about. The AstraZeneca vaccine is in wide use in some countries, though the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are more widely used here in the United States. So that's happening. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced yesterday the expansion of mandatory vaccine requirements for city workers. The same thing is happening in California. NPR is reporting that the man accused of killing 8 people, most of them women of Asian descent, in the Atlanta area massage businesses pled guilty to murder Tuesday in 4 of the killings and was handed 4 sentences of life without parole. I'm not mentioning his name. He's 22 years old. He still faces death penalties in 4 of the other deaths, which were being prosecuted in different counties. Y'all, Amazon and Blue Origin founder Jeff Bezos publishes an open letter to NASA offering to pay $2 billion to gain a contract to build a reusable lander. I don't know what that is. Anybody in space should know what that is. The agency awarded a similar contract to competitor SpaceX in April. For the win, Simone Biles. She gets it. She gets the win. She is taking care of herself. I'm asking the News in Motion family to please pray for her mental well-being, pray for the entire team, because now that you know that she's out, the pressure that's probably going to be placed upon the other team members. And kudos to Jordan Childs, who said, I can do it 2 times. I can get out here. And she jammed yesterday, helping out her buddy who had been training her and who encouraged her to stay in the game. So y'all, we want to continue to pray for these young people, these athletes everywhere, all throughout the Olympics, people who are wanting to strive and do some things that they have been dreaming of for the longest. Y'all, my inspirational message is this, and hear me. My inspirational message is this. Be mindful of the things that you say and do. Be mindful. Be mindful of the requests that you are making of other people. Be mindful. Ask yourself if you're willing to do it before you put that pressure on somebody else. Even yesterday evening, I sat back as all this was unfolding, and I was like, what kind of pressure have I put on my children? What type of pressure have I put on my husband? What type of pressure have I put on my siblings? What type of pressure have I put on my parents? What type of pressure have I put on people? What type of pressure have I put on the millennials? What type of pressure have I put on myself? And then I asked the question, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Pay attention to people. They may look well, but are they well? Pay attention. Pay attention to your own survival, to your own wherewithal of doing the things that you're doing. As News in Motion is getting ready to do some new things come September the 1st, and I want y'all to hear me, I'm sitting back saying, all right, we want to do a whole lot come September the 1st. And we want to push from September the 1st to Thanksgiving week. We want to push 110%. We want to push it. So at first I thought, well, I'm going to just take off a week in the end of August leading up to September the 1st. I'm reevaluating that. It may be the entire month of August. Yeah, because I never want to hit burnout like I hit back in June or May. Yeah. So I'm like, my mental health. I love the news, but how much is the news affecting me? Yeah. Crying yesterday, watching the January 6th commission, listening to 4 men who cried, whose voices were shaking, to listen to the representative Adam, is it Kinzinger, from Illinois, a Republican, how he cried responding to the 4 men. That's a lot of pressure. Pressure, like I gotta make sure I have these facts straight. Because I messed up the other day. I called Naomi Osaka. I said she was a teenager. She's 23 years old. And trust me, the haters came at me. She's not a teenager. She's 24. Yeah, it was a mistake. Yep, I kind of knew she was in her 20s, but I said a teenager. It was a slip. It really was. Heck, I slipped on my birthday and said I was 58 and not 56 when I was responding to Mike Nicholson. Trust me, I heard about it. So it's like, man, is it worth it? It's like, why do we attack people? Why do we want to call people out? Why do we want to highlight the mistakes? Why? We need to answer that question, why? So just putting you on notice. I don't know yet. I don't have an answer yet. I could be gone the entire month of August. Now, in my mind, I'm like, man, that's a long time. Will people come back September the 1st? But guess what? It's okay. I've always said, and I stand by it, 1, 2, or 3 people. It's all that matters in the first place. But I want y'all to take care of yourselves. Yeah, I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to stay well. And as you're staying well, you can still make moves. Notice I removed the word bold. Every now and then I put in make bold moves. But sometimes you just have enough energy to take a baby step. And guess what? That's okay. Until tomorrow, I am Gail Dudley with your News in Motion. You stay well.